Oh yes, the sound of Epona traveling across Hyrule filled with that classic Ocarina of Time intro. For many of us, it was nostalgic. The game was letting us know how adventure felt, and that game design of this magnitude and most of the other games in the series was supposed to make you feel immersed into a world. Though I haven't been alive for that long, 40 years of arguably the most iconic series in gaming, The Legend of Zelda has shaped me into the gamer I am today. What is good, y'all? Is the Young King Ken, and today I will share a short story about my experience with The Legend of Zelda, with it being the 40th anniversary, and about a week since recording this video, and how one singular game series fueled my love for gaming as I got older. Stick around as I'm going to give you my thoughts on what Nintendo should do with the 40th anniversary. My first experience with The Legend of Zelda wasn't Ocarina of Time. It was A Link to the Past, the GBA version bundled with 4 Swords. I was about 8 or 9, and at the time I only played platformers and kart racers. I was a picky gamer, so I was skeptical at first, but it was colorful, and something about it just pulled me in. And then you hear the music. The intro that was about Angahim, I'm probably butchering that name, taking over Hyrule, and my mission to rescue Zelda immediately raised the stakes. It felt serious, like grand, like I was stepping into a real adventure. Upon the opening, the game tells you to head to Kakariko Village, but instead of following the story, I looked at that map and thought, let me see how big this world really is. So I explored, I experimented with combat, searched for bombable walls, stumbled into side quests. The world felt alive and my curiosity just kept growing. By the time I reached my first dungeon, and by the time I beat my first boss, and by the time I got the 3 pendants, I eventually pulled the Master Sword from the forest and I was hooked. That moment cemented my love for Zelda and honestly shaped the way I approach games to this day. Going back to music, the music amplified the experience tenfold. Ocarina of Time was the master at perfecting a score so legendary, I almost guarantee a good chunk of you has some type of playlist on Spotify dedicated to this game. And I own this game via the Virtual Console and Wii. And, once that title screen loaded up, I would just sit back, look out my window, contemplating life like it was a play from Shakespeare. Okay, I'm just yapping, but you know what I mean. And staying on the topic of Ocarina of Time, I felt like this was the epitome of the traditional Zelda game. You had a clear story, but you also had the freedom to do the things that you wanted in a 3-dimensional space. Once you entered Hyrule Field for the first time, it was on for the hunt, but one thing was different. As you progress through the story, you see changes to the overworld. New secrets and areas become available. That was amazing. Progressing through the story didn't feel like a drag. The dungeons were iconic, especially when you were adult Link. You felt the pressure of entering the Fire Temple, the eeriness of the Shadow Temple, the pain of suffocating as you drown in the pit of the puzzle of the Water Temple. Okay, that was a bit dark, but we all felt this. This added to the excitement of the open world and felt I stepped into something larger than life. Upon completing Ocarina of Time, I drifted towards PlayStation for a little bit. But even then, Zelda has already altered my taste in gaming. So I found myself gravitating towards games like Dark Cloud, JRPGs like Final Fantasy XII, and other story-driven experiences. And without realizing it, I wasn't just looking for fun anymore. I was chasing adventure. And as I grew into my early teens, I was deep into more PlayStation titles. Now at that time, it'd be the PlayStation 3. So games like Batman Arkham Asylum, Grand Theft Auto 5, Infamous, Uncharted, Just Cause 2. I loved the freedom that those games offered, but because I stepped away from Nintendo for a little bit, I missed some of the biggest Zelda games like the Wind Waker or Twilight Princess. So I don't have nostalgia there, but when I was in college, it was around the time of the Wii U, and as a broke college student, buying those HD versions were not happening. Still, I kept replaying the classics, and I kept chasing that traditional Zelda feeling. All I asked was to get the exploration of Ocarina of Time, except the world needed to be more vast, and I always dream of a game where you can go to the late game areas as early as you want it, whenever you want it, and that the world was more and truly yours. Enter Breath of the Wild for the Nintendo Switch. And all I heard was after that game received its Game of the Year award, I had to save up to get a Switch, and once I did, I experienced peak. The ceiling that I had for the series was blown off the roof with this game. You were the hero of the wild and needed to save Hyrule from Ganon, so you know the typical Zelda story. And early on, you had to go through the Great Plateau, and the hooded guy, which turned out to be the King of Hyrule, dude was annoying as a mug. But once I got that paraglider and got off the plateau, I was told to go to the dual peaks. Best believe I did not listen to that advice and went straight forward, all up to the castle. And I'm sitting there like, surely they wouldn't let me in. I damn near died 20 times to the Guardians to get there. And okay, getting past there, and upon arrival, I got a cutscene and music that sounded like we're at the end of the game. And I put two and two together and realized, no, I can end this game this early? Though I ran back, but to know that you could go to any of the Divine Beasts, story missions, and areas as early as possible and at any time was exactly the thing that I wanted from a Zelda game. Though it wasn't as traditional as the others, I knew I valued going through that open world over the puzzling dungeons. I still like the puzzling dungeons though, but I mean that was the one thing that I was like, okay, they could have done better with the Divine Beast. But anywho, Breath of the Wild was the payoff after all these years. The references to earlier Zelda titles, the familiar townsfolk, added that getting the legendary sword and other classic items took work to get. I regarded this as my favorite and, in my opinion, the greatest Zelda game I have ever played. Yes, it is a hot take, but I said what I said. I look back through my childhood and I can confidently say that the Legend of Zelda series shaped me as a gamer to this day and gave me memorable moments in gaming that I will cherish for life. So it's exciting that we've reached the 40th anniversary, and my main hope, prediction would be that I would be able to access all of the major Zelda titles, the past, on the Switch too. And as far as new games is concerned, I mean, yeah, it'd be cool if they tease the next full-fledged Zelda title, but still, right now, I want to experience Zelda's past, and it would be great to see what a Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask remake or remaster would look like, especially if it was like remade in the Breath of the Wild engine, or like a Link to the Past, utilizing the engine that was used for the Link's Awakening remake, or of course the Echoes of Wisdom game. It will be the perfect payoff to see the games that we grew up with getting a full graphics upgrade. But whatever we get is fine, because I could just go back and experience peak again, because for 40 years, The Legend of Zelda has been about one thing: stepping into the adventure of a lifetime. And honestly, I'm still trying to chase that first feeling. So let me know in the comments, what was your favorite Zelda memory? And thank you for watching. I do videos like these, and including reviews, skits, discussions, and much more. So if you like the video, please give it a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for updates. And until the next one, I will need y'all to keep our kingdom seasoned, y'all.